Well, hello there. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the science of how you're going to lose this weight. And then we're going to talk about how we're going to take that science and apply it to the particular diets that we make available to our patients. So to get started, I don't know if you know anything about me, but I'm a chiropractor and I specialize in functional medicine. So I'm used to taking on more difficult metabolic cases, like diabetics, thyroid disorders, autoimmune disease, all sorts of digestive disorders. But one of the things these patients that we tend to attract to our office have in common is they all have weight problems. So because of that, we're not going to be using any drugs. I'm not going to use any hormones or stimulants. In fact, this is going to be very natural and very safe on your body. Before we get started talking about the science of weight loss, I just want to talk to you about some of the things that we don't choose to do in our office here, like the use of semaglutides, which are things like Wegovy, Ozempic, some of these other off-brand things. And I've heard a lot of patients that have shared their own effects from this, and in 50% of the population, the drug doesn't work for you. It's kind of useless. So all you're experiencing is the side effects. And the other thing that I get concerned about is I hear of and see so many side effects. Probably one of the most common that we see is that you can lose up to about 30% of your muscle mass. And if you're female, this is huge because you don't have the testosterone to rebuild that muscle. So you end up having these sunken face and you're not able to burn off the calories now because you've lost all that muscle. So you're going to have to take that drug for the rest of your life just to keep that weight off, because once you stop, the weight's going to start coming back. I don't like to use other things like amphetamines and everything because that's going to cause your heart to race and cause all sorts of problems for you, lots of health risks. And by the way, you can do almost any kind of diet. I mean, you can drink the shakes over at Walmart if you don't mind, putting up with the diarrhea. But what we're going to be talking about is something that's going to be sustainable to help you to get to that weight that you want to be at and keep it there for the rest of your life. Now, what you can expect on our weight loss program here is our typical patient tends to lose about 10% of their body weight every 6 to 8 months just by giving us about 70 to 80% compliance. And by the way, I'm going to have to teach you how to cheat if you're going to want to make this permanent, but that's just kind of the patients as they're getting going. They're not in a hurry to get that weight off, so they only lose 10%. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you can expect to take off about 20 pounds every 6 to 8 weeks. But now if you're really strict with a diet, though, like I'm going to be sharing here, if you're female, you can lose up to about a half a pound of fat per day. With the men, it's even closer to a pound of fat per day. And I have plenty of patients that lose even more than that. So this is just going to boil down to finding a program that we're going to tailor to you that's going to be very specific and work for you just like nobody else. Because what we're going to be doing is balancing out the hormones that regulate your hunger, your energy, and your weight. And we're going to use that with some polypeptide chains. And what these are strings of amino acids that are the basic building blocks for the hormones and the proteins for your muscles, for example. But the company that put these together, that discovered them, found that if they put them together in such a sequence, as they carry a genetic message to tell your body how to do something that it really should already know how to do. And that's to regulate your blood sugar and your insulin. So now two of these hormones we're going to go after right off the bat are produced in the pancreas, and those are insulin and glucagon. Now the way these hormones work is anytime you eat sugar, fats, or carbs, your blood sugar is going to go up. Now that's very inflammatory to all your tissues, and it damages your nerves, your arteries, your kidneys, your eyes, your cartilage. So your body wants that sugar out of your blood as fast as it can get it, and that's what insulin does. Insulin's like a key to the cells that opens them up. Then the sugar can go in, your energy goes up, and your blood sugar drops. Now once your blood sugar drops low enough, this activates another hormone called glucagon. Now the way I remember that back in my college days, if you think of the word glucose, but it's all gone, it's glucagon. There's no more blood sugar. And that's exactly how that hormone works. Now it turns on the fat and starts to break that down for your energy. And that's where the weight loss comes in. But as long as your blood sugar and your insulin are floating around up here, that glucagon is going to stay in the basement. So it's very difficult to lose weight. Now another hormone we're going to affect is one that controls your hunger, your energy, and your weight. Now this one is controlled by a hormone produced by your fat cells called leptin. Now leptin has a direct communication with your hypothalamus, the part of your brain here that controls your appetite center. And so when the brain gets that message, what it's supposed to do is kind of turn down the appetite so you just don't feel like eating so much. So theoretically, the bigger, the larger you get, the less you should want to eat. So this kind of introduces the problem with hormones. hormones have an issue that if they stay in circulation for an extended period of time, your cells lose their sensitivity to it. Because all the cells in your body are designed with these little receptor sites on them for the hormones to come and attach and deliver their message. But once they do, you excrete that hormone through your urine or feces. But if that hormone stays in circulation, it's going to hang around and keep clogging up these receptor sites of the cells. And that's what so the cells just kind of ignore it. And that's what we refer to as insulin resistance or leptin resistance. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about, how we help you overcome that. Now, the way we're going to do that is we get you started on a little bit of an appetite suppressant. And one of the main ingredients in this is chromium picolinate. Now, chromium is the #1 cofactor for insulin. Now, what that means is it makes that insulin work better and faster. So if you can imagine all these insulin-resistant cells floating around in your body, but they've developed these rusty locks on them so that insulin just can't penetrate very well. Well, that chromium acts like a WD-40 for our insulin, so we can slip it in there much easier and quicker and then lower your blood sugar down and activate that glucagon. So now we can start burning off that fat a lot faster and easier for you. And by the way, this is a very safe product that they've been using since the 1980s. In fact, a lot of the bodybuilders will use this as they're going into bodybuilding competition, because what it does is it beefs up your metabolism, gets you to start burning off the fats and the carbs a lot faster and easier, gives you more energy, but it's not the kind that, gives you the shakes or keeps you awake at night. It's like waking up from a good night's rest and just feeling rested and ready for the day. But essentially what we do here is we're going to be taking a slower running metabolism, like taking an old beat up pickup truck to get it to work more like a high performance race car. And that's what we're going to be doing with you. But now, one of the things we can do to make this very specific to you is we do genetic testing. Now, here's how we find out how God has specifically built your body to handle things like your proteins, your carbs, and your fats, because everybody's a little bit different here. And once we find out how best your body runs on what kind of fuel, we're going to be able to tweak your diet, make this much more effective. And by essentially, we're going to find out, what makes you run faster, better, lose the weight a lot easier. We're also going to check to find out how your body assimilates its vitamins. For example, are you able to produce sufficient vitamin D when you're exposed to the sun? Are you capable of absorbing your A, B, and C and your E vitamins? Because these all play an important role in your health, but just as importantly, in your metabolism. For example, low vitamin D can cause weight gain. And if it gets too low, it can even trigger things like diabetes. So those are things we're going to want to find out. So at least I can warn you and say, hey, we better keep these wheels greased so it doesn't interfere with your metabolism. Now, we're also going to check to see how your body responds to exercise. Will you lose weight and burn off that fat faster, doing some cardio versus, say, maybe a little bit of strength training? We'll see how your exercise is going to affect your cholesterol rates, how it affects your blood sugar regulation. We're going to test you for things like gluten and dairy sensitivity. And I tell you, if you have an issue with those, that could be a main problem with why you're not able to lose weight. But we'll see how fast or slow your metabolism is designed to run, how fast your brain gets some messages when you get full. Just a lot of great genetic information that what we're going to do is take that and use that now to build a foundation. So now the whole program becomes tailored around you instead of, trying to put you into a cookie cutter recipe. And if you're wanting to get this weight off and make it permanent, this is the ideal tool to have, because it's like getting the owner's manual to your own body. You're going to know exactly what to do to make it work better and what to avoid so you don't keep tripping yourself up and causing all the problems and the issues you have for yourself. Now, we do other types of diagnostic testing. We can do functional lab work. Now, functional lab work is something where we're going to take a look at your lab work, but it's going to be done through a different kind of set of eyes versus what your medical doctor does. With your medical doctor, what they do is they compare everybody that's been into their clinic over the past year, and they plot them on a bell-shaped curve where the other 2.5% are the ones get put on drugs for the rest of your life. Well, with functional lab work here, first of all, we're going to do a whole lot more. We're going to take a look at every system in your body. We're going to take a look at your digestion, your thyroid pathway, your cholesterol, all those things that go into affecting your weight. And then we can start saying, okay, yeah, we might be low in vitamins or minerals, or we need to address this thing. But that helps us with a lot of our sicker patients. So if you're struggling with, a lot of underlying chronic conditions, medications. If you're on a lot of medications, this might be an option for you to consider. We also do hormonal testing for those that feel like their hormones are all out of balance. And we'll discuss that more to help you to determine if that might be necessary. We offer detox programs to help to clean out the liver, the gallbladder, the gut, repair any damage to the gut lining, such as, leaky gut. I get the pH balanced out. But there's a lot of things that we'll be able to talk about. But now let's talk about how we're going to take all these sciences and apply it to the diet. So this is an anti-inflammatory diet. And what we're going to be doing is eliminating gluten, dairy, soy, sugar, and alcohol. Now, I don't know if you're a drinker, but if you do, you can get away with 1 or 2 drinks a week. You just can't have a bottle of wine every night and make this work, because that's going to keep spiking your blood sugar levels. And if you do like to drink, that's what I'd like to talk to you about, is some specific types of alcohol that aren't going to be so damaging to your metabolism. They don't spike your blood sugar quite as much there. And now you can still have fruit on this diet. We're just going to avoid all the high glycemic ones, mainly 3 of them: pineapples, bananas, and grapes. All the other fruits fine though. Now when it comes to your vegetables, we just want you to stay away from those starchy ones. And those are peas, corn, carrots, and potatoes. And we also want to keep rice off your plate, because these all tend to spike your blood sugar levels. Now when it comes to your proteins, if you're a vegetarian, we can give you a special vegetarian menu for that one. But if you eat animal proteins, you can have pretty much anything that flies, swims, or walks. But we just want to keep it low fat for you here. So if you like fish, you can have pretty much any kind of fish, including crab, shrimp, and lobster. But there is one of them that we're going to encourage you to avoid, and that's salmon. Salmon is a high fat containing fish, but even though it's a high fat, it's a good fat. It's an omega-3, which means it's anti-inflammatory. So we're going to want to get that back into your diet once we get you down to your target goal. But during the weight loss phases, we're going to be wanting to burn off your fat, not that salmon's. Same thing with a steak. If you like a steak, go for a filet mignon or New York steak. Just nothing like a ribeye or a tri-tip, because it has too much fat interlaced with it there. But you can have chicken, pork, turkey, ham, lamb, any of those. We're just going to cut all the fat off or melt it off and try to keep it 90 to 97% lean. Then we'll be able to make that work for you. Now, let's talk about how we get you started on this diet, because this is a little bit trickier than most diets as you get started on it, because what we're going to be doing is stimulating your metabolism to get you to start burning off calories and what you're capable of right now. But to do that, what we have to do is shock your metabolism. So the way we do that, the first 2 days on this diet, don't take your appetite suppressants. You're going to need to have a healthy appetite for this, because what I'm going to ask you to do for those first 2 days, if you're a female, I want you to try to consume about 4,000 calories a day. If you're a male, you're going to be consuming 5,000 calories. So I want you to get all your favorite foods, the things you crave and enjoy the most, and just gorge yourself and make yourself a little sick from it, even get it out of your system. Because what we're trying to do here is trick your metabolism into thinking you're going to have all these kind of calories coming in on a regular basis. So it's going to naturally start to boost up your metabolism a couple of notches. Then on day 3, that's when we put you on the appetite suppressants. And now we're going to take you into intermittent fasting. Now, the reason we do this is going to keep your blood sugar levels nice and even. So we're shooting for about a 16-hour stretch here where you're not introducing any calories into your diet. So now you're not going to have any glucose surges and no insulin spikes. So now that chromium that I'd mentioned in that appetite suppressant, that's going to help to start clearing out all that circulating insulin, clearing out the receptor sites of the cells. And that's how we're going to resensitize your cells to the insulin and get your hormones in balance. So now your body's going to start to function the way God intended it here for you too. Now, by the way, there are free vegetables you can have anytime throughout the day. And those are things like cucumbers, celery, radishes, pickles, tomatoes, mushrooms, salads. And you can have unlimited salads on this program, but we're going to give you some guidance on that area. So the ones we recommend, you can get them in any of your favorite flavors, but the ones we do recommend are all 0 calories, no carbs, no fats, no nothing. So they're very easy to keep that weight off. And I think they taste great. I use them on my salads all the time. But now, once we get you down to lunchtime here, now we're going to drop you down to, if you're a female, 4 ounces of of your protein, your vegetables, and your fruits. And men, you're going to eat 5 ounces of your protein, 5 ounces of the vegetables, and 5 ounces of the fruit. And same thing at dinner time. Now, if you're local here, we love to see our patients on a weekly basis so we can weigh you, measure you, keep you on track, answer any questions you might have, give you that guidance. But if you're not, what we can do is schedule Zoom calls or phone calls. Kind of want to make sure that you're going to be staying on track. But additionally, we're also going to set you up with an app for your phone and your computer. And that's going to allow us to be in constant communication while I continue to track your progress here. So anytime you have a question or an issue, I'm available for you 7 days a week, and I'm going to be right there at your fingertips. Now, that app is a big part of how we're going to make this weight loss permanent, because what we're going to be doing is sending you a lot of videos and recipes, and you're going to start off with a bunch of them, but every day you're going to get a couple of new recipes that we want you and your family to start trying out. And by the way, these meals are designed for you and your whole family, so you should be able to sit down to the same table, eat the same foods. Now, they might be able to have a little extra breads or pastas or things that are maybe excluded from you initially here, but for the most part, they're very nutritious, healthy, and delicious meals here. But now, once we get your genetic testing back in, we're going to know if we can add more fats, more carbs, more proteins, more gluten or dairy. Whatever your body is designed to use, that's how we're going to design this nice, healthy, effective diet for you that's going to last for the rest of your life. It's not going to change from year to year on you here, but this is going to help us to do it permanently here. Now, once we get you down to your target goal, then we take you off the drops, and I'm going to show you how to lock it in, make it permanent. It takes about 30 days for us to do that, where we're going to kind of reprogram your brain, your habits, and your shrunken tummy. And by the way, your stomach is going to shrink up considerably on this. So if you're eating on normal dinner size plates, I would encourage you to downsize to more like a salad plate really quick, because if you try to eat as much then as you're eating now, you're very likely going to hurt yourself. And that's what really makes this diet so easy. You just can't eat as much, and now it's got that shrunken tummy here, and you're eating all these low-calorie, delicious foods, so it makes it very easy to keep that rate right where you want to. Now, we're going to talk about how you can overcome plateaus whenever that weight starts to stall, and we're going to answer any questions, how to overcome these sweet tooths whenever you have special complications and everything here. But if this sounds like a diet that's going to be interesting to you, or that you want to get more information, go ahead and fill out that information to set up an appointment with us here below, and we can either contact you to do this in person or even a Zoom call if you're living out of the area here. But what we want to do is have you to fill out that information so we can get as much personalized information, so we can make this as specific to you and make that appointment as personal as we can.